In this video, we're building our very first Gunpla kit.
And as Warhammer painters, we might be a little bit biased.
So we want to try to figure out how well do these legendary Gunpla kits actually hold up.
We'll build, paint and convert a kit from scratch to once and for all answer the age-old question.
Are we scamming them? Is Gunpla even close to as cool as Warhammer? I
Probably
think
not.
It's just that easy. And I guess what's the absolute coolest thing that we can do with one?
Make it not suck.
Let's get started.
And now, for the first time in Squidmar history, Gunpla on our very own desk.
We've got some boxes.
We've got some cool freaking boxes! Woo! Emil, what's the first thing that jumps out?
I mean, it does look like the Transformers that I grew up with as a kid. And weirdly enough, I think the boxes are kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, what is this?
Just a brown back. But cool thing, they've got different colors on the sprue. Yeah, the sprue quality, I don't know, it's a lot simpler in the shapes compared to, say, Warhammer.
People have been saying to us that this is like so much better than Warhammer, and it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, we've had a few kits right from like World War tanks and stuff, and because of how simple the shapes is, it is much easier to make it feel more crisp.
But with that said, it is kind of cool that they have like different colors of the panels.
We appreciate that they put in that extra effort.
And as you can see here, I think it's quite evident that they're not actually meant to be painted, because the parts come in different colors, so that once you've assembled them, you're ready to go, you have your kit already built.
It does feel a lot more like a toy.
Yeah.
So these are the two first kits that we've ordered. We have more on the way, because apparently with Gundam, instead of having like, okay, you order Nagash and you build up Nagash, this kit is available, I think, in 4 different versions, or 5 maybe even.
Was it 4 or 5?
4 or 5, I don't know. You can correct us in the comments. But you have like standard grade, high grade, and then you have like superior grade, which means that it's just more bits and more details, and maybe there's like lights included.
Yeah, and it's
which is kind of cool.
I have to say, the superior grade, or what the frick it was called, was kind of cool, where you had to like build every single part of like the interior of the legs, even though you don't see it. You have to build it, which I would hate.
Yeah. It's not for us, obviously. So we figured that this is probably good for us. And let's build these up. Then we kind of come back, compare it to Games Workshop prices for similar minis. And after that, I think we should paint some and try to make it Warhammer-ified. Let's do this! Because in the 80s, when Gundam got started, these kits were similar to Warhammer kits, where you needed to use plastic glue to build them together, but apparently all of the kits released now just like click on. You don't need to use any glue.
No glue.
I assume it takes a lot of engineering time to make it look good, to make it work as intended. Gundam started back in 1979 with the anime Mobile Suit Gundam, a show that basically invented the real robot genre. Giant mechs treated more like military machines than superheroes. Since then, Gundam has become one of the biggest sci-fi franchises in the world, with countless TV shows, movies, manga, and games. Not long after the first series aired, Bandai released Gunpla, short for Gundam Plastic Model. The very first kit dropped in 1980, and it kicked off a hobby on its own that sold over 700 million kits worldwide. Unlike Warhammer, that started out as a game with miniatures and grew to something much more, Gunpla pretty much had the opposite journey and was more of a collectible from a TV series, but have over the last couple of decades slowly grown into more of its own hobby outside of the TV series. Now with even a Gunpla Builders World Cup. Lucas, we just built one each.
Yeah.
Mine was huge. It took you like ages.
I have to be honest here, Emil. I really want to give you like a grade right now.
Yeah.
But I honestly think I have to paint it before I can give it a fair grade.
Do you have any idea?
I think I'm gonna try to paint it like the classic tau yellow ochre color.
It's kind of tau-ish in its shape.
It's kind of tau-pilled.
Do you think you're gonna have to glue it together?
I mean, I think that I will be executed by the Gundam fandom if I do, so I will. But I don't really know how I want to pose it though. Maybe
I'll leave
like
it to you to figure out, and we'll see you guys again after Lucas has painted it. While Lucas is painting his Gundam, let me talk about this week's sponsor, Squarespace. Throughout my entire life, I've always had like 100 billion different hobbies and side hustles. Anything from taking wedding photos to taking photos for insurance claims to my freaking band, where I released albums and sold t-shirts. And I always, through my entire life until somewhere around 6 years ago, always struggled so bad with having to make a website, always having to have a friend who helped me design the website or helped me program the website, which I was even worse at. Honestly, I knew nothing. But then 6 years ago when I started this YouTube channel, I tried Squarespace. I paid for it with my own money and I had such a blast. It took me about 2-3 hours to go from nothing to a completely packed website with all the information that I needed, as well as being able to sell products online. With no previous knowledge, anyone can do it. And thanks to Squarespace Design Intelligence, they now, even more than ever before, guide you along the way of designing this website and give you tips on what types of text to use and where to place images. Best thing, in my opinion, is it is completely free to try out. So if you follow our link in the video description, go use your 30 days to build a website for maybe your Gundam fan club or your commissioned painting service for Warhammer. You're gonna see that it's just as good as we say. And then when you're ready to launch, you can get 10% off your entire purchase of a website or domain if you follow our link, squarespace.com/Squidmar, or use Squidmar at checkout. But now let's head back to Lucas painting up this bad boy.
Okay people, now that Emil is finally gone from the video, we need to figure out how to turn this really weird Transformers looking mini into something that fits in the 41st millennia. And the answer is, of course, we need to turn it into a Tau mini. Starting by removing all of the panels, I can then start posing the mini just how I want it. Now, I know that the Gunpla people might kill me and hate me for doing this, but I'm actually gonna glue all of the parts here because I don't want it moving around when I'm painting it. The big conversion I'll do to make it look like an actual Tau mini is that I will rework the head ever so slightly. I'm thinking that if we flip the top part of the helmet, it will actually start looking more like a regular Tau helmet than the Transformer looking head that comes in the box. And then adding some guitar strings at the bottom of the jaw instead of the face mask, boom! We have something that's truly grounded in the 41st millennia. Next up, smacking some cork, roots and texture paint on the base to create a nice looking scene for the mini. And now once the base is off to dry, let's put all of the panels on a nice stick and start priming them. Whenever I'm painting minis that have this type of colored plastic, I always make sure to prime everything super thoroughly, because we don't really want any of this red plastic shining through the finished paint job. Okay, so the color scheme I'm thinking of doing will be the classic yellow ochre armor of the old 3rd edition Tau. Accompanying this with a nice green vibrant jungle base, I really think it will look super freaking nice. So let's bring out the airbrush and let's start painting the mini. For the main panels, I'm mixing Japanese uniform and Parasite Brown 50-50 and cover the panels until we reach one uniform layer. The head, however, I'm painting with deck tan. And to save some time in later steps, in some areas we can add some masking tape to block off so we don't get too much of this yellow overspray. Now to achieve the old school effect of the 3rd edition Tau, it's now time to edge highlight all of the panels. Here we use equal parts Japanese uniform, Parasite Brown and Ice Yellow. Moving on with a final touch of pure Ice Yellow. When it comes to painting the inner parts of the mech, I simply dry brush some gunmetal over the entire thing. Then finishing it off with a dry brush of silver. Now, before we assemble all of the panels to the mini, I really want to add some freehands to make it look even more like an actual Tau mini. So by using gory red and deck tan, we can start by painting these classic Tau markings. And now it's time for a lightning round. Once we're ready to assemble all of the panels, we just simply add a small drop of glue to each connecting point. Now that the mini is pretty much assembled, it's time to add some green and brown to the base. And while the paint is still wet, we can add some Japanese uniform to the green, making sure that we get some varied textures, some different colors, and also working our way up with some highlights. And once the paint is dry, we're now ready to add some tufts. Here I'm using the Green Stuff World tufts that have some small red flowers to create some contrast between the base and the armor of the mech. And by now you guys should know that whenever I'm painting these big minis, I really love adding a pigment wash to bind everything together, and today is no different. So bring out your dry pigments, some flow improver and some water and mix until you reach this consistency. Now we're applying this to all of the panels facing down and in every area that we feel like we want some wear and tear. Now, the last and final thing we'll need to do to this miniature is bring out the airbrush, some inks, and start shading it to create a nice atmospheric feel. Bringing out some sepia ink and shooting this from below, making sure that we hit all of the areas angled downwards, and trying to be as gentle as possible so we don't overspray too much or get any unwanted blobs of paint in the center of the face. Now, once all of the paint is dry, it's time to add a nice black rim to the Mini. And after this, it's freaking time for a grand reveal!
So Lucas, let's recap what we think about Gundam. Let's start with 3 positive before we move into the negative. Number 1.
You can really post them however you want, and they're modular, you can switch weapons, and you can really play with them.
Yeah, that can be really fun. Number 2, if you like building miniatures, there is so many hours you can spend building these kits. I would compare it maybe more to Lego in a sense than Warhammer, because it's more based on like the building, but also maybe more to like classical historical miniature builds, like you know, the tanks and the airships and stuff that people build. So it's got a lot more of that compared to Warhammer. And thirdly,
the price.
Yeah.
As long as you get the lower grades of the Gunpla, they are way cheaper than pretty much any other plastic manufacturer, which is
because yours was $20, mine was $80, so this one was like the mid-grade thing, and $80 feels more like in comparison to like a Warhammer kit for its size, but this one $20. I think you'd easily pay between $60 and $80 for something of this size from Games Workshop. But do we have some negatives, Lucas?
I mean, they are modular to a point where they become so flimsy that you feel like you're gonna break them.
Yeah, and this one that's kind of over-designed, like when I start moving the arms, things starts falling off. It makes it feel cheaper than a Warhammer Mini just because of that. Like, it is more of a display figure than a toy, but you can't really play with it and move it around like as you think you might be able to do because of how modular it is.
And that kind of segues into the next point, that they do really feel like toys more than collectibles.
Yeah, and I think the last kind of negative for me, where it's like people in our comment sections throughout the last years, they've been like overhyping these kits as so much better than Games Workshop and revolutionizing kits. But I don't think that they do that, honestly. It feels like a completely different type of hobby. Sure, it's plastic, it's made from the same material, but it's much more like the building historical kits as opposed to Warhammer, where it's more about like the creativity. Okay, how can I make this kit into my own? This feels more like, okay, I have spare time building the kit. And I don't think it's for me.
No, because we don't like building.
Yeah, we like painting war dolls. That's our hobby. So are we judging people who like this? Definitely not. I had a bit of fun, but I also figured that Gundam is probably not for me. There is one thing that I think is awesome, and that is they've managed to build like a huge community of people sharing, like making mods to them, doing their own thing. I think the whole like world championship for Gundam is a really cool thing. So if you're into building more than painting, you should definitely check this out. I think that's pretty much what we have to say for today. Massive thanks to all patrons for supporting this channel, and of course
our amazing sponsor Squarespace.
It's never been easier to make your own website than it is today, thanks to Squarespace.
So that's it, bye bye, fuck off.